Welcome back, League fans. Teams are readying up for Game 4 with the showdown between TSM Academy and Team Liquid Academy. But with Echo Fox getting their win here in Game 3, TSM are already eliminated from playoff contention and will only be playing Spoiler tonight.
Yeah, it's a bummer that this team doesn't have anything on the line to play for with their last few games, but ultimately the players still have something to prove. Teams are already looking ahead to next split, and these will be your last opportunities to publicly show that you're going to deserve a spot heading into summer, whether that's Academy or LCS.
On the other side of the matchup, though, is Team Liquid, who have secured a playoff spot but are now in the race for the first place seed.
Liquid has a clear chance now of catching up with FlyQuest and Cloud9, but they do need to shore up some of their issues that they've been having with consistency and actually win out in their remaining games. The volatility that you see with them makes a lot of sense because their success mostly comes off Mickey and Viper. Mickey is the most experienced player in a very young roster, but he is known specifically for his inconsistency, while Viper is known for Riven. So,
which isn't super consistent.
No, it is not. It's a pretty volatile pick. So that is his most played champion in Academy. It's not really a surprise that despite the raw talent in this team, they still need to show that they can stay focused to claim that spot.
Well, let's see if they can focus up. Let's take a look at the starting lineups here. On the blue side, it's Team Liquid Academy with Viper, that Riven main there in the top lane, Hard in the jungle, Mickey at mid, Shoryu bottom, and support Joey.
Now on the red side, it's TSM Academy. In the top lane, Brandini, jungling Grig. In the mid lane, Blaze Olive. And in the bot lane, Mr. Raleigh, supported by Shady.
Now sometimes you get into these games and you have a team that they are playing Spoiler and they're not actually fighting for themselves to be going anywhere in the postseason. And that means you can actually see some pretty interesting strategies or picks come out. And I hope that's what we get from TSM Academy here.
You know, we'll see. I feel like TSM as an org is always kind of one of those do-it-by-the-book orgs. I mean, sometimes you see some fun stuff, like Reggie tweeted some stuff and then had to make Haunter play Teemo one game or whatever that was, you know, way back 2 or 3 years ago. But their obvious trend is that they are very business-like in their approach. So, especially coming into today where they didn't know if they would be playing for their future or not, I'm sure they practice very seriously, and they'll probably just follow that game plan here.
We'll see how exactly they decide to go about doing it. Let's look at what's going on in the draft, shall we? It's Olaf and another blue side Skarner. What is with you guys not playing Skarner?
It's a good champion.
I love that champion.
I would say it's the best jungle champion.
Right now, yes.
I would say it might be the highest power pick in the game.
Very well could be.
Besides Xayah, because then you get Rakan. But you should probably...
Highest single power pick in the game. Rakan and Xayah aren't single. They're together.
Well, the question is, does the pressure you get by picking just Xayah with Rakan up mess with them?
Ooh, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. All right, all right.
Or mind games with Xayah.
Well, Skarner's out of the picture. Xayah and Rakan are not. Olaf, Kha'Zix, Skarner banned away by Team Liquid. They're really targeting the jungle. And Team Liquid locks in the Scion. TSM banning away Azir, Galio, and Ryze. They're all targeting mid. They say, you want the jungle, we'll take the mid lane. TSM now have the opportunity to pick whatever they please. They go with Xayah first. No surprise.
So they also go with Sejuani here, I would guess, because like we saw in Game 1 with Cloud9, you don't necessarily need to pick the two of them together. You can force the enemy team to break them up. That Scion, of course, is not a top lane Scion. That is a mid lane Scion, probably. It will still get flexed because that's what Team Liquid loves to do. The first time I saw them play it, they had like 3 or 4 flexes going on. But there's not many teams where... you know, Scion becomes the highest priority pick with everything else up. No. Team Liquid going for that kind of similar game plan we've seen some people try and do against Xayah Rakan is pick Caitlyn, get a winning bot lane matchup, and just pressure it so it can't find those great engages.
Well, let's see how exactly they want to do that winning bottom lane matchup, because you're going to have something pretty effective. We've seen how cutthroat Xayah Rakan can be, or you just unbench the catch, have him save him.
Yeah, I mean, that's another way to do it. It's decent. Obviously, because they go on one target, you pick them up, or they're just going on the Tahm Kench, and Tahm Kench just eats them. So as long as they stand far enough apart that they can't get double charmed, double knocked up, you should be okay. But Tahm Kench Caitlyn doesn't pressure the lane quite as hard. It's more of a defensive response to the Xayah Rakan than the offensive. We're going to have you perma-shove, chunked out, so your engages are very risky.
Well, the response from TSM Academy, obviously, grab the Rakan. Imagine, you have Xayah, Rakan's open, you pick Rakan. That's going to be their first part of the draft. Let's see how they go into the second part of the bans here now. These teams recognizing that the bottom lanes have already been picked up for both sides. You've got a solo laner of unknown origin on the side of Team Liquid, TSM having themselves their jungler. And so they'll target the jungle pool a little bit here, aiming for the Jarvan.
Yeah, the Jarvan's a little interesting. There's enough other junglers up. I mean, Olaf, Skarner, Kha'Zix, those are kind of bans in anticipation of the fact that they were not going to pick Xayah, Rakan, or Galio, is what I'd read that as. So they didn't want to give up an early rotation of like some form of Xayah, Rakan, plus Galio, plus one of these junglers or something like that. So they were just banning out these kind of crazy snowball comps that you see. But now it leaves a very pinched jungle pool for hard. I mean, the Zac is still available, but that doesn't really work when they're more of a defensive team comp thus far. Right. You're not really trying to kidnap people to get bursted down by Caitlyn or something, or Sion if that ends up being a mid lane Sion. So I need to see where they go. But they always do the crazy stuff, so hopefully TSM saves their top laner for last. They don't get counterpicked by Viper.
Well, the bans from Team Liquid Academy, Anivia, Camille, targeting towards those solo lanes. Jungle target from TSM. Let's see how they decide to go about doing this. You got a mid laner to pick, you've got a top laner to pick. One of them doesn't get to be blind. One of them's also gonna have to deal with the Sion. So what's it gonna be? Galio's still banned this game.
Yep, I was gonna say the Cassio. I'm curious to see how that works with Sion. One of the things that works so well with Sion mid is that his E-shout just pokes you out of the lane. Cassio has a bit of sustain built in with her Twin Fangs. I wonder if that's enough to offset the wave clear and poke that you will eat from Sion.
Well, we may get to see this game as TSM do lock that in for a Blaze Olive in the mid lane. Team Liquid thinking about the Gragas here in the jungle, maybe.
Definitely working with what we were saying about how you don't really want the Zac for the hard engage. You are a little bit more defensive of a team comp, trying to survive through the hard engage of TSM Academy's team comp. And Gragas does work to that a lot better, where he can also engage with his ultimate, but he can also push people away. So a better defensive tool than Zac would ever be.
Well, you've got defensive capabilities, you've got offense capabilities, all bundled up into one big old keg of beer. Gragas locked in for the side of Team Liquid Academy, and the final pick will be the Taliyah for mid lane, which means Sion's going top.
And once they know that, they can grab the Shen for the top lane, something that we have seen played before. It looked really good for the Shen, something we've seen banned before after seeing Sion picked. So we'll have to see how Viper plays this matchup, and I gotta say, once again, I'm liking that Xayah Rakan draft. Whoever gets Xayah Rakan, maybe I'm just biased, I like it, but
it feels so good though. How can you not like it?
It feels really good. They want to get aggressive at 6 again. TL are going to be trying to push bottom, and I'm sure Mickey, he loves roaming, so he's sure to roam down to the bot lane. They don't really have like great snowball lanes. They need to get this Caitlyn ahead. They need to take the turret early, and they need to start moving around the map with the Caitlyn to get to control this game, because top lane's not really a factor, and mid lane most likely will not be a factor to snowball.
Remember, Team Liquid in this game fighting for positioning, going for that #1 seed in playoffs. They've already secured a spot for themselves. Now it's all about trying to make sure you set yourself up against someone that's not FlyQuest or Cloud9. Instead, they'll be gunning for whoever that 4th place team is. But remember, it won't be TSM, who were just eliminated thanks to the efforts of Echo Fox Academy.
And what's crazy, too, is with CLG Academy's efforts, we will have, if they win, a 3-way tie heading into the final week, which will lead to a lot of fun trying to get that last seed, or first seed
that all
figured
out. Could be some very explosive games once that time rolls around. But for now, we're a bit more concerned with exactly how things are going to play out on the Rift here. Can the performance of a Blaze Olive's Cassiopeia step up to the same level of what we saw from Demonte in the previous match?
You know, I would be surprised if he could do it, because Mickey is a much more formidable player, and this matchup is not quite as easy as the Galio one. Mickey and a Blaze Olive feel very similar in a lot of ways. Whenever you see them get their Azir, they're going for these crazy Azir sets. They're always shuffling in. This time around, not doing it. He's going to have the Cassio, and at least a very interesting matchup between these two players, where they're always just going seemingly over-aggressive onto each other.
Well, since we're talking about aggressive, I'm going to go ahead and address the not infernal elephant in the room. There's no infernal Drake early on, Mark.
Pack it in, boys.
We don't get to see the early aggressive neutral plays. Instead, it'll be up to the players to find some other motivations.
I mean, at least it happens in the TLA game. These guys are nuts. I'm sure they will continue to play crazy, despite the fact that this comp is not a crazy comp, but every time you say that about TLA, it's like, oh, well, they have the scaling advantage in their weaker early game. Mickey is, for some reason, roaming around the map on Azir. So I am sure we'll still get a healthy dose of action here.
They have the scaling advantage. The early game might be a little bit weaker. You've got champions who are adept at kiting backwards, but it's Team Liquid Academy, so we might just see them going full force forward. A little bit of a tongue twister. As TSM take level 2 in the bottom lane. Not really a chance to go in. Shady not going to look for a grand entrance to start things off here. I'm sure you and Joey will just be happy hanging out, farming up. Like we said, the answer to the Xayah Rakan here is a very defensive one from TLA.
Yeah, and like you were saying, though, it's be interesting to see if they actually play it defensively. I'll make a bet with you. At some point, Joey will Tom Kench ult somebody in, leaving Shoryu alone and to die.
Okay, so Joey ults somewhere other than bottom lane with somebody that's not Shoryu.
Well, maybe he kills Shoryu too. At some point, there will be an aggressive Tom Kench ult that kills Shoryu.
Okay.
That's the bet.
All right, what are we betting?
I don't know. Pride.
Pride. All right, Pride is on the line. That's what we'll bet as to whether or not Shoryu gets accidentally killed by an aggressive Tom Kench ulti. Meantime, Brandini continuing to look for opportunity here against Viper in the top lane. Really even farm between these two guys. You talked about how the Shen can kind of be a counter matchup when picked into this Sion that seems to be getting so much popularity these days. I think he wants to avoid that poison, get down as much wave clear as he can to try to shove these minions up, make things a little bit difficult here in the mid lane for a Blaze Olive. You can see the extra biscuits, the biscuit delivery rune over on Mickey, providing some extra sustain for him, as well as extra mana.
Right, exactly. With the changes that came into Talia, I forget exactly when it was, but they upped the mana cost of her Q, her wave clear. Getting that extra bit of mana through those biscuits will help her continue to shove in these waves.
And as a rune that we don't see super often, just to explain for anyone who may not be aware, Biscuit Delivery not only functions as a bit of like a charge of a corrupting potion, giving you back some health and mana, but you get a permanent mana boost every time you eat a biscuit. So Talia will be very happy to have that, and if she ends up building some of those mana synergizing items, well, it works really well, really nicely with those.
So early on, the Caitlyn lane starting to get control bot, top lane, just some meatballs hitting each other.
What's new?
I mean, last time I was talking about the meatballs hitting each other, there was a flash forced.
Yeah.
And the observers made sure to let it be known to me that they knew it was going to happen. As I called them out for showing me it.
Setting you up.
Yep.
Shoryu and Joey trying to move out a little bit with some of that pressure there in the bottom lane. Brandini's not having the best time here in this 1-versus-1 against that Sion. Those slamming the minions in for the slow and the harass constantly, like you talked about, proves to be very effective even against a meatball champ before he gets extra tank.
And what, of course, everyone remembers is that game of Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves in the LCS, where Impact absolutely destroyed the Sion with Shen, but that was as a result of some pretty poor trading on Sumday's part, where he was missing a lot of his E's, he was getting the pull through on him a lot to get the extra damage, and then he lost his flash in the 1v1, and then he got reganked, and the lane just snowballed horribly, and it's not necessarily an accurate representation of the matchup, whereas this time around, yeah, Brandini got poked out pretty hard, but he teleports back in the lane now with the cowl. Viper grabs the catalyst, and you're probably not going to actually see too much more volatility now that they've got their first item, but we'll have to see. I've been wrong before about what top lane's going to do.
We'll see what happens. Greg hangs around the mid lane thinking maybe there's an opportunity here, but the answer is really no, considering he still doesn't have that ultimate up. Remember, we always look to the junglers once they have those ultis to maybe be thinking about making a big play, especially when you've got Sejuani and Gragas in the same game. So as they crest that mark, about halfway towards it right now from level 5, we'll see if they can decide to get themselves involved anywhere. Bottom lane still a good way away from it, only just now hitting level 5 once Shoryu and Mr. Rawlers. Shady goes in, and there you go. Tom Kench eats him away to safety.
Interesting rune choice here by Shady, taking Airy. Generally, we've been seeing the Unsealed Spellbook, as it gives you more flexibility in the lane. If you're landing a lot of W's, you can take that, you can ignite people, burn them down, and then if nothing's really happening, the next time you go back, pick up that TP, and maybe you can make some plays around the map with it. The Airy, much more lane-focused, I would say, given that it should increase your trading and defensive usage. And maybe they were concerned about the Caitlyn being too strong, so they go for the lane-focused rune choice.
And I like seeing that. I like seeing adaptations based on the runes. I mean, the entire purpose of the rune overhaul is to make it so you don't just take flat armor yellows, flat damage reds,
Yeah.
whatever else you took the other
CDR blues,
yeah.
or MR if you needed them.
Right. The goal was to provide more choice, provide more adaptability between games. So I like the fact that Shady says, you know, this is a game where I do need to adapt. This is a game where I want more of that upfront power as opposed to the indirect power of having extra summoner spells or making a return to lane a bit quicker. Shoryu and Joey will continue pushing up, though. Tahm Kench utilizing that tongue lash to keep them at bay, provide a little bit of extra damage with Shoryu's long-range auto attacks.
We'll have to see when this game starts breaking open. Like we always say, the level 6s, Mickey having his in particular is important because he is the primary roamer on the map and will therefore be the biggest threat. But here we go.
Mickey in some trouble. Has to get himself away from that one, utilizing the cleanse. That tech choice on Talia, paying off there to escape the game.
Tech choice.
Tech choice. Yeah.
I like it. With the jungler showing mid, though, it looked like TSM's bot lane probably wanted to get aggressive there. Didn't really find the angle onto it. And while Mickey did lose the cleanse, not the end of the world, he'll still be trying to clear these minion waves out so he can start getting around the map and start hitting people.
Where are the big plays going to be made? We saw an attempt in mid lane, but Cleanse shuts that down rather hard. And speaking of hard, where are we going to see the Gragas start to focus as well? There's so many opportunities, only so many opportunities you can find, as everyone seems pretty content with the passive nature of the game right now. Everybody just wants to farm up, get to that point where you feel a little bit better about where everything's at. Both mid laners going with the tiers, moving towards those Archangel staves that we talked about being so prevalent and so powerful as a first item.
And it's an interesting game because I do think TLA should be playing it slightly more aggressive. They don't necessarily get outscaled in terms of how the team comps interact, but their backline does get outscaled. I would take Cassio and Xayah over Caitlyn Talia. And if they engage and they whiff it, then I actually do like TLAs because you have this Rakan who went in, blew his combo, maybe Tahm Kench saved somebody, and they are able to pelt people down. So despite the fact that I do like the backline of TSM's Academy a lot more, I like how TLA has a lot of defensive tools and a bit of a range advantage.
Well, TSM Academy has themselves a 300 gold lead right now. Nothing super, nothing crazy, but hey, they'll still take it. Brandini, very familiar with how things look underneath his turret at this point in time. The wave clear from the Scion is a little ferocious compared to what's just included in the base kit of the Shen there. As Mickey goes up over the wall, Brandini potentially going to be caught out here. Hard goes over the wall as well. Brandini having to get away from this one. The cast going to stick him back into the wall, but now it's turned around, and the counterattack from TSM is there. First blood goes over to Grigg. Over the wall comes a Blaze Olive, and that is going to be another going the way of TSM Academy. Make it 3, Mark. These guys found the play.
The Cassiopeia's being able to follow the roamers in the past 2 games and find some cleanup kills. Also huge, the fact that Shady was out of lane, influencing the map, and the Tahm Kench and Caitlyn were resetting on the map. Huge moment there where they were able to read the roam by Mickey, as well as some mis-execution. They easily could have got a kill there if he lined up the Qs a little bit better. Not really sure where he's going to flash, so hard to fault him too much for that. But they just didn't quite have the damage. The ults came in late, people were backing off, they weren't all on the same page. Definitely felt like 1 kill got away from them there, but even after that, it's a 3v4, so you're still in a lot of trouble. Just really great read on TSM's part about where that fight was going to break out.
And it looked at the start like it was a good pick for TLA. It looked like, oh, hey, cool, we caught this top laner out, he's going to get finished off, but just that little sliver of health is enough to bait them all in and bring TSM to the point where they're now 2,000 gold up in this game. This feels good for this team to be able to get on the board with a play like that, and there you go. Archangel staff done for Cassiopeia. It begins.
It begins. We'll have to see if a Blaze Olive can crush this game like Demonte did last time. He's been struggling a little bit in Academy after being one of the most hyped up prospects in the scouting grounds. Everyone was...
He had a great performance.
He got drafted #1 overall in the... Oh, hold on here.
They're making a play onto Grigg this time, trying to get himself away. Stand United comes in. Brandini makes his way into the fight. Explosive Cask into the wall, and yet another barely escape until Joey goes over the wall with the Ignite to lock him down. Brandini now going to be in some trouble here as well as Mickey falls on the other side of his own wall. Brandini trying to escape here. Team Liquid Academy in hot pursuit. There's no way out this time around, and Shoryu's the one who's going to be given the kill as Shady still tries to get himself out of here. Viper wanting to pursue this a little bit further, does land the slow. Do they have the CC? Good dash away there, utilizing the power of the synergy with Xayah to stay alive.
They're gonna siege a little bit down here. This is one of the strengths of TLA as a team, is that they are relentless in how often they pick fights. Something doesn't work up in the top side, that's fine. We'll take another fight down the bot lane. They get the Shen ult out. They're able to still kill him. We talk about Joey's aggressive ulties, put them in that fight as well.
Well, Shoryu and Joey almost got themselves into a tricky spot there. You could see Shady wanting to look for something on the back end of that fight, but couldn't quite find what he was going for there. Both summoner spells still available on Shoryu here as well. Mr. Rawlers will continue pushing this up, utilizing the clean cuts to push this wave as fast as possible, give him and his teammate that proper back timing they're looking for. Game's a little bit closer now.
Definitely closer after this play. They find Grig, trying to get some vision control down the river. And then TLA play it pretty well, waiting out the Shen ult, and then their own TPs start coming in. Get the final kill on the Grig. Mickey ends up going a really weird way here. I thought he was going to kite back down to the left. Looked like he wanted to connect with the rest of his team, but they were already split off by his own wall, so no way for them to really help them out, but they do get Brandini as well. 2 for 1. Does cost them their TP up in the top side. Brandini still has his, so I wouldn't mind seeing them start moving around the map here and get out of the standard lanes, because there's potentially some dives that might start coming down the bot lane.
Taking a look at where TSM wants to go right now, the name of the game is Ocean Drake. Significantly later than an Infernal Drake, but you'll have that. They move towards it though, get some extra bit of sustain there. Grig will be left to take that one down. Does get it rather easily. Looks like another Ocean is going to be the next one to spawn, but that neutral objective just means more of this game in the control of TSM Academy. You talked, Mark, about how even if you're not technically playing for a spot in playoffs or for a postseason or whatever, you're still playing to showcase your talent as a player. You're still playing to show, hey, I should be on a team in summer, here's why.
Absolutely, and we talked about Blaze Olive being highly touted coming into the split. Been a little disappointing, all things considered, thus far, having some struggles in the mid lane, and this is a great game to show that you are improving over time. You get the Cassiopeia, you get some kills early on. If you can take this game over DeMonte, that's huge, you know, because we just saw a huge performance out of Cassiopeia on him. If you're comparing these two as a potential mid laner that you want for your Academy or LCS squad, here are two games that are eerily similar to compare them.
Right, you want to stack up. You want to make sure they're not just looking at it and say, well, why would I take this guy when I could have this guy? As Grig moves into the jungle of that guy and forces Hard away.
Got John Gruden on the cast with me.
Well, TSM, they're still feeling pretty good about the rotations here. Slithering a Blaze Olive down into that bottom lane. Mr. Rawlez and Shady will continue applying the pressure here onto the tier 1. Knowing they've got potential backup nearby, they're not too particularly afraid. And let's be honest, there's not a lot of engaged potential coming out from the Team Liquid Academy bottom lane unless, like you said earlier, Joey decides to bring somebody to the back.
He's 1 for 1 on his aggressive Tom Kenshalt usages, so we'll see if that keeps up. Now Mickey getting caught out a little bit there.
Mickey gets himself away, though. Good feet there. Sidestepping away from the second part of the flail from Grig. Grig decides not to utilize the ultimate as well. Just going to leave mid lane there for a Blaze Olive to continue doing what a Blaze Olive does, applying that pressure and constantly keeping Mickey having to answer.
Pressure down the bot lane has kind of flipped to TSM's side, was on TLA's. And this was one of the concerns with the draft that you run into a little bit, where you don't pressure hard enough early on with the Caitlyn. Starts falling behind the Xayah Rakan. It's such a powerful duo. Every time I see it get handed over, I'm scared to see how it's going to go. Only a 10 CS lead right now, and they are starting to wear this turret down. And of course, Mr. Raleigh is one of the best AD carries down in Academy here, so it's no surprise to see him doing well.
Mickey, 1 Twin Fang away there, maybe 2 from getting picked off by a Blaze Olive. The Petrifying Gaze comes out, doesn't find the stun, only the slow. If that was a stun, that's 100% a kill.
Oh yeah.
But a Blaze Olive is just constantly in control here in the mid lane. That's the difference between the fully evolved Seraph's Embrace and only the just now purchased Archangel Staff. It creates a massive power disparity.
Yeah, and with that, Cassiopeia is able to start roaming down, sync up with that bot lane that we were just saying is starting to get pressure on their own to actually take the first third of the game here.
Team Liquid Academy wanting to try to make a fight out of this one, but instead, they're the ones who are going to be in a very rough spot. Now, Joey pops the thick skin, now going to be the target. Grig still looking to make the moves. Caitlyn devoured up. Grig going to be stand united, kept alive for now, still looking to walk away. It's hard into the back line, almost able to find the damage, but not just quite. Brandini comes in, a Blaze Olive able to grab the kill onto Hard. Viper also going to be falling down now. A Blaze taken down by the dead body of Viper, and that is 2 for 1 in the favor of TSM.
Still a great play for them overall. They grab the turret, they get the 2 kills. They also get a global advantage now as Shen, getting chunked out a little bit, will have his TP still available. So things are looking pretty good here as the gold lead goes up to about 3,000.
Crazy stuff happening in the bottom lane. It was looking like nobody wanted to rock the boat, but now it's Mr. Ralles who has to escape the wrath of the unbenched Kent. She flashes away from the tongue lash and he'll be all right. He walks away from the wall from Talia and whew, it's all in the rearview mirror now. That's what matters.
I believe his ult was up there. It was interesting to see him go for the flash instead. Anyways, take another look at this fight first. Hard drops the ultimate, trying to split people away from his backline, buying enough time for Mickey and the rest of the team to show up. They try and find Grig, and once again, it just feels like it's really hard for them to actually finish him off. The Scion ult whiffs, doesn't actually hit anyone, so Grig's able to actually walk away there despite the fact that he should have gone down. Viper is now in the middle of the team and does get the cleanup kill, but if they could have finished off Grig at the beginning, this could have been a 2 for 2.
Can't underestimate the power of the dead Scion. Those auto attacks, it's got some like maximum health ratio on it or something that makes it do incredible amounts of damage. And
that's why it's a strong level 1 when you're inting to die and
you
int
the enemy buff and take it and then go to the
right, because it has the max health damage on there.
Team Liquid Academy, they were at least able to respond with a kill. That's a good sign for them, right? You don't want to just lose your turret, lose 2 kills for free. They got something out of it. It's still a bad trade, but it's a trade instead of a gift.
Absolutely. So TLA, they're not going to lose things without a fight, as you can kind of see their mentality there. But the problem is they are still losing things, and they need to start finding their own plays that work out. The one roam up to the top side did not work out. The fight in the bot lane, or bot river, excuse me, where they caught Grig was good. They're trading blow for blow, but TSM feels like when it goes well for them, they're able to trade up a lot better.
TSM now moving on to the Rift Herald, saying that they've got yet another objective in their sights. Doesn't look like there's going to be any contest, really, here for this one. Mr. Ralles providing the damage, so Grig can grab that eyeball, take it up to top side, and potentially make yet another turret push here.
I'd like to see them potentially save it for mid lane. I think with the amount of pressure that they have with their bot lane already, they can probably set up some play around here and just force it down themselves. You don't want to be too greedy, of course, because some people get into that mindset and then they just hold on to it and it runs out, and it basically worked as a glorified Baron recall for a couple minutes.
And then you just throw it into a random lane and it kills 3 minions and dies.
Yeah.
Feels really bad in those situations, but at the same time, we saw the Caitlyn topside. It always feels so bad to push into Caitlyn. The trap line is such a nuisance to have to deal with, so not using Shelly there, totally understandable. You do have 4 minutes to think about exactly how you want that one to play out. TSM Academy still feeling all right now. 3,500 gold up compared to Team Liquid Academy. Items coming online. You got your Titanic Hydra for your Shen. Warmog's almost ready to go for that Sejuani. Essence Reaver plus a Zeal on the Xayah. Things are starting to come together. The pieces are falling into place. Leandri's also the choice yet again here for a Blaze Olive, and like you talked about with the item changes, very good for melting some of these tanks.
And there are 3 of them here on Team Liquid Academy's side, so he's going to get a lot of value from that item. I want to see what Talia ends up going next. It's been strange place for her in the meta a little bit. She can go the Archangel. She does spam, does want a big mana pool. That's all fine. But where you start going from there is where people have some questions. You do see Leandri's a fair amount. She does stay in the fight for a long period of time, just constantly pelting people with her threaded volleys. But it doesn't feel quite as effective as some of those other champions who are constantly AoEing multiple members down, like the Miasma and the Qs and the Es that Cassiopeia can do.
Exactly. It's not what's good, it's what's the best. What can I do to really give myself an edge in this situation? Baron now live, by the way, as we are past the 20-minute mark. Next Drake will be Mountain after TSM picked up their second Ocean Drake just moments ago. So more and more regeneration for these guys. And Ocean Drake's one mark that I think we sweep under the rug sometimes, because just having one of them doesn't feel too great. But if you end up getting 3 of those over the course of a game, it can dramatically boost your siege potential, as you almost never have to go back to bait.
Yeah, it effectively becomes a mini Warmogs for your entire team, able to top you guys up in those situations, as well as the fact that it gives you that mana, like you said. So a more versatile dragon than you would initially think. And like you said, when you start with one of them, that feels good in laning phase, but then becomes pretty minimal as the game progresses. But if you can pick up a couple more, especially if you start grabbing an Elder or something later, it becomes crazy how much healing you'll start seeing from that.
Can definitely be very, very scary. Talking of Elder, though, we haven't really seen any games go to the point where he even exists yet today. They've been pretty fast, pretty explosive. TSM with a lead that they might be able to do something with should they be given the opportunity, but Liquid wants to staunch that bleeding as effectively as they can. They haven't really lost any more of a gold lead since last we checked in, since that last fight, that dive from TSM bottom lane. So that's going well for them, but at the same time, you've still got to be ready, still got to be able to make a move when the time comes, even if you are 3,000 gold behind.
The time is coming up pretty soon here as the Rift Herald has a little under 20% left on it. We'll have to see where Greg decides to use it, making his way up to the top side most likely, and then we'll see if they actually try and make a play around that.
Does it ultimately come back to what I originally thought they might do, and they just throw it into top lane? We'll see. It might, out of simple necessity, it might. Greg hangs around the mid lane here, or wait, nope. We're just going to drop it in mid. Shelly drop off. Yep, there you go. Making sure it comes out there. Summoned up. Miasma to make sure Mickey can't get close enough to try a seismic shove to interrupt the summoning. Hard and Mickey will stay here. Remember, as much damage you can do to Shelly before she charges, the less damage the charge will do. Joey trying to escape from this one. There comes your grand entrance, though. Trying to make the move happen here, but he's going to be rooted up underneath. Shady nearly in some trouble there. Gets himself out, but that was pretty close for comfort. TP comes in. Viper wants to make this one happen. Shady, very low, still has to try to get away from this, but instead he's going to be brought down nearly. Tries to dash out, still going to be caught as Mr. Rawlins attempts to escape. Sidesteps the decimate. Mickey taken low, but it's a double kill over to the side of TLA. 3 kills head their way as Joey picks up the last one on the Brandini.
We talked about when they were going to have to pull that trigger. Right then is the perfect time. Comes off the back of a mistake from Shady, who overstayed in the top lane. TSM does trade back with that mid lane turret, but it might be the best of a bad situation because TLA wants to take the whole arm right now.
Here comes a Blaze Olive, not able to find the Petrifying Gaze onto the enemy mid laner to grab the kill, but he does enough damage to force TLA away, shutting down that Baron. Critical right now for TSM.
Doesn't only shut down the Baron, but it stopped them from going for the top outer turret. They chose to break off of that push. There weren't that many minions with them for a little bit, and they said, let's just get the Baron, but they got shoved off of it. So this is after Shady had already got chunked out, lost most of his health, and used his ultimate. So he's an easy target for Viper here, and I really love the coordination by Mickey and Viper. Viper flashes forward for this, forces Mr. Allswag forward, and then they layer it with the Talia W underneath. So he either stays in melee range of all these champions, or he runs into the W, chooses the W. It's death either way. He ends up going down. Beautiful synergy between Mickey and Viper. They find those kills, but they didn't grab any global gold, so still no turrets in their favor, still down 3,000 gold. It was a good attempt, but some questionable decision-making after that leads to them to stay in the same deficit.
And that's so much of what building your League of Legends lead comes to, right? Is not just, okay, who can we kill and where, what can we get from it? You always want to make sure there's some kind of a payoff. The trophy shouldn't be the kill itself, it should be what comes after the kill, and unfortunately, for Team Liquid, yeah, you won the race, but you forgot to pick up your trophy before you drove home.
You ran without the baton.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly, yeah. You got all the way to the finish line only to realize the baton's still sitting on the sideline, and the whole thing just feels a little bit unfulfilling. But knowing they can win those fights is pretty big for them. And on the side of TSM, knowing your limits is important because Shady really put himself in a pickle there.
Yeah, I think that's the critical point is that while TLA punished a mistake by TSM, it was still a mistake by TSM that ended up leading to that result. If they clean up their engages a little bit, because that's what we were saying, the TSM comp will be the one engaging. If they do it correctly, I think their comp will win a lot of these fights, but if they mess them up, they have to be very, very careful because Shoryu and Mickey can do plenty of damage with their champions.
Reek moves in towards that Scuttle Crab. Baron Scuttle Crab, more and more valuable as time goes on to just keep a little bit of extra vision around the area. With this game getting later and later into the 20-minute section, you will see teams start to posture towards this objective, wanting to look for that opportunity should they get the chance. Mr. Rawls and Shady going over the wall, looking to make the play here onto that enemy jungler. Hard's in some trouble, tries to flash over the wall, still going to be taken down. Joey now gobbling up that mid laner, keeping him safe, but it's TSM Academy that have found the pick, and now they will look to find that trophy for that kill, moving over onto Baron Nashor, forcing Team Liquid Academy to respond to this one. TLA moving in, Miasma will still zone them away. Viper wants to come into this. They recognize the sound of the ulti. They immediately move to counter this as Viper now finds himself alone in the 1 versus 5. He'll buy time, but how much can he actually buy? He accomplishes very little with his death. The damage onto the TSM health bars is not substantial. They move right back onto the Baron.
10 seconds on hard, very far away. They have all 5 members left. They can potentially burn this Baron down. There's no one who has a really big smite threat, so they just need to play zoning duty while they finish this.
A Blazall is moving forward to protect Brandini, keep the Team Liquid Academy members away, now falling right back towards the Baron, providing the rest of the DPS. Well coordinated, well done by TSM. They get the objective.
Really nice play by them, and I especially liked how they saw Viper ulting through the mid lane and peeled off the Baron to move towards him, because if they allow him to connect with the rest of his team, he can start frontlining for that Talia and Caitlyn to walk forward and try and scare them off Baron. But because they move towards him and kill him, there's no follow-up. They get the free kill on him, and then they can go back to the Baron. Very intelligent play by TSM from start to finish in that sequence.
Team Liquid Academy will now move over to grab themselves this Earth Drake, though. Getting that will shut down maybe some of the pushing potential from TSM, but they're still Baroned up.
Yeah, there's a banner of command finished by Brandini after all that as well. No minion dematerializer, so TLA's comp also not the best with engage. Have to see it. Captain Flowers is sweating. Monka S.
Monka S, you know what this means. When you're, for those of you who have missed the past week of professional League of Legends, when you have Baron and you have Banner, they've got to come to you.
So this all starts because you get the pick off from the jungler. At this portion of the game, and especially around this part of the map, he is maybe the most important member that you can pick off, because now there's no way to really contest Baron. So the enemy team is forced to fight it. It removes one of their options around it. So they move up there and they start this Baron. You can see that he was very far away, so when Viper ults through the mid lane, they actually see him on the creeps, and they all turn off Baron and chase him down. So Shoryu is trying to play catch-up duty to his tank, who is now the one out of position. So there's no front line. Mickey's trying to pelt people and scare them away, but it's just all too easy for TSM to go back on the Baron after that pick-off. Very intelligent play by them.
Now let's see what they build with this Baron buff lead. TSM has the buff for another 2 minutes. They want to push onto these tier 2 turrets, break that inner line, and see if they can go even further. But Team Liquid Academy will do everything in their power to stop it. That Baroned up Banner minion just does not care. This thing does so much damage to turrets. 2, 3, 4. Mambo number 5 takes it down. Easy.
1, 2. You gotta do the count if you're gonna count. The
1.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do it the next time.
If you're gonna count, at least put on a cape.
All right, we'll try to ask some of the production guys around here, see if we can find a cape specifically that we use during the Baroned up Banner minions. The Banner cape. As the push continues in the top side, it continues here in the mid lane. Baron alive for another 1 minute in terms of the buff on this TSM squad. They've still got themselves a 7,000 gold lead. They're still sitting rather pretty. If you look at where they are on the map, all pushed up, all pushed forward. TLA's hold on the map is just weakening by the minute.
And I like how they're playing this with this kind of 1-3-1 setup. Xayah is relatively safe with her ultimate. It's going to be hard for TLA to engage onto her. The Shen is pretty safe. The Cassio is so strong she can 2v1 most likely, and then the Shen will have ult to join them. So there's not really a great option for TLA here, and they're just losing all their turrets slowly. The mid lane with the Caitlyn is the one that's holding on the best, but with 15 seconds left on this Baron buff, you have to think that that will be the last inner turret to go as the 1-3-1 collapses in on it.
TSM did a good job with that Baron, building themselves up to over an 8,000 gold lead now. And 30 minutes into the game, 8,000 gold is a terrifying wall to have to climb up. As the push continues, that will be the last inner turret, and now only the Team Liquid base itself remains. This is such a difficult situation to be in, Mark, because Team Liquid Academy, like you said, this team doesn't have a lot of initiation potential. You've got Viper, you've got some from Hard, but onto a backline that has an AD carry that can get out of jail free with the ultimate, onto a Cassiopeia that's got Banshee's Veil plus Seraph's Embrace. Yeah. Not easy to do.
I mean, it's a tall order, and that's kind of the situation they kind of painted for themselves. They first picked that Scion to threaten flexing at mid, and then they don't really do anything with it. It just goes up into the top lane and doesn't do much. And Viper, who we were talking about in the beginning of this game, as one of the primary carry threats on TLA, is now relegated to a tank, and Mickey's playing Talia, a champion that's great for his playstyle, but he doesn't really have any lanes to go to want to snowball other than the bot lane potentially. But that didn't work out. He still went topside as his first major roam. That got turned around, and as the game stalled out, Xayah Rakan just starts winning trades. Too hard for Caitlyn to really do anything about it.
TSM Academy, we talked about how you want to look good this game. You want to make a statement. Well, having a 9,000 gold lead, 32 minutes up against one of the top 3 teams, that's definitely a statement that you can make for yourself. Next big neutral objective will be the Drake coming up here in about 90 seconds. Mr. Rawlez flinging out those feathers. He's already got 3.5 items. Very scary at this point on the Xayah. 70% crit chance, working on some life still here now. If you look at a Blaze Olive, we already mentioned the items that he had with the Banshee's Veil as well as the Seraph's Embrace, but with Void Staff now up, that means even the tank line of Team Liquid Academy has to be afraid of these Twin Fangs.
Does Mickey know what a banner creep does?
I don't think so.
I legitimately don't think he
does now. He recognizes now what it does, but at first I don't think he knew.
He did not know it had magic damage removed from it.
Yeah, magic immunity.
Yeah.
They cannot be damaged by magic or spells in any way.
Yeah, so if you're a viewer and you don't know that
yeah.
No, that's fine. You're not a professional mid laner in a meta that is defined by Banner of Command.
Yeah, it's an item, it's a niche item. It's never really been popular before, so it's an interaction a lot of people aren't familiar with, but it is a bit surprising to see
a professional not know that. And to be fair, you know, maybe sometimes people do things for fun, you know,
that's
like,
true. Yeah,
oh, I'm just gonna,
maybe he's just memeing on it.
I'm gonna pelt it for rocks. But what I'd say is that there were actual creeps behind that he could have thrown his Q at, but instead threw it at the thing, then autoed the creeps behind to kill them, and then channeled a full another one to throw it in. That read to me like, you don't know what you're playing against.
The way we'll put it is there were some optimizations that could have been made to that wave clear.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it that way. There comes your collapse onto a Blaze Olive, petrifying gaze onto 2. Shoryu immediately has to be rescued because a Blaze Olive would have eaten him alive. Brandini with the taunt flash. He finds the mark. They'll make it a 1-for-1. TSM Academy bringing in the reinforcements. Joey going to be in some trouble. Dodges away from the taunt, pops the thick skin. Likely going to be the sacrificial Toad here as he can't quite get himself out. It's Grig and Shady into the back line, but the damage hasn't joined them just yet. Grig still looking to lock down that enemy mid laner going forward. He's tanky, but is he tanky enough? Mr. Rawlez says yes. Joining the fight, providing the damage. It's still just 1-for-1.
You see the Frog leading Shen on a wild goose chase, decides to break that one off and just go to the Baron. Looks like this will be pretty free for them to grab. Hard is still kind of in the area, but has to go so far through vision to try and test it. It's not even going to bother. TSM grabbed their second Baron of the game, and I got to ask, Cap Flowers, okay, was that an aggressive ult that killed Shoryu?
Oh, all right, we're going to have to wait for the replay to see if that fulfills the condition or not.
Because it felt a little weird because he did ult him in, almost killed him, and then saved him.
Right.
But then the Shen ult came in and killed him, so.
I don't think the ult specifically got Shoryu killed. I feel like
if he died right here,
then yes, it totally counts.
Yeah, but that save makes me think, you know what? And then he walks too far forward and gets hit by the flash taunt. That was a really nice play by Brandini there, locking up the front line that was chasing his Cassiopeia down while also being able to kill the enemy AD carry.
Yeah,
nice play by him.
That wasn't unbenching the Kench. That was unpinning the Shin. Yeah. The Shin was there. He made the play happen. I don't think that makes you win the bet.
Yeah, and then the rest of this chase down sequence is a little awkward because the AD carry of Mr. Raleigh was not able to get involved in that fight, so it was a support and jungler chasing down multiple members of TLA. It was kind of hard for them to kill anyone. Now they got the Death Brush looking at Grig.
They've got the Death Brush.
Drake
the Drake goes over to TSM. And here's the thing, Mark. TSM now has Baron. They've got control over the entire map. They've got 2 different banners that have both just been activated at the same time. The push onto the Team Liquid base is going to be extreme. They're going to have to put up one hell of a defense if they want to make this turn into much of anything, really.
We'll have to see how much work Caitlyn can do. Tahm Kench able to devour the cannon creep and put it right next to Caitlyn. That's an interesting interaction. Who needs a...
Yeah. I like that. They're immune to magic damage,
not CC.
But not magic effects. Yep. CC and control effects can still work on them. Interesting. Okay. I wasn't even thinking about that one.
Yeah, I like that Tahm Kench for that.
Good moves from Joey. Good moves from Joey, but Team Liquid will need a lot more than just that if they want to continue holding the line here. Even the non-bannered Baron minions still will add up with that damage over time. Viper will, there's plenty of creep manipulation on the side of TLA. They can knock those banner minions back. Brandini trying to move him out of the way so he's not able to body block the auto attacks. Grig and Ablaze Olive will continue applying the pressure here into the bottom lane, 2 versus 2. They're not really afraid about this, even under the enemy turret. Ablaze Olive is just so strong, but moving into the other lanes, the inhibitor turrets are cracking everywhere, Mark. They've already fallen in the top side. One more is about to go down in the mid lane unless Caitlyn can pull off a miracle here. Grig and Ablaze Olive doing their thing here in the bottom side. Once again, pushing up. Shoryu, the one man who can try to stop all this, but can he be 3 places at once? He can't be bottom lane. Still trying to hold on to the top side. That inhibitor's gonna go first. Inhibitor number 2, under pressure bottom side. It's Grig and Ablaze Olive, the ones who will be in charge of that one. Not quite sure how much longer it'll take them to take that out, but they're definitely putting the work in on it as the mid lane tier 3 falls as well. Engage in the bottom lane onto Joey. We'll have to see, can TSM make it happen right here? Ablaze Olive able to find the damage onto the front line. Joey and Hard both going to be out of the picture almost immediately. Viper 2. Only the back line survives. Mr. Rollins with the offensive ulti. Shoryu's out of the game. And ladies and gentlemen, TSM with a swift final team fight, taking down the inhibitors. Ablaze Olive finds the ace. And that will be it. They take the victory over Team Liquid Academy.
An excellent 1-3-1 execution there. You saw it with the first Baron buff. They set it up again this time. There's not much engaged for TLA. They finally feel the pressure, pull the trigger, but it's on themselves. They end up going down after not finding an angle onto the Cassiopeia. They get the re-engaged by TSM. Easy kills.
It's almost like the Xayah Rakan teams are having a good time. And Cassiopeia seems to be a pretty good champion these days, too.
I don't know what happened. I thought Jay and I were very clear about how powerful Xayah Rakan is.
People need to listen. People need to listen.
Yeah, I just can't get behind the Sion first pick when Xayah Rakan is on the board. You saw that they had what felt like a game plan to deal with it, but if you mess up that game plan even a little bit, right? Like they did have some pressure around the bot lane. They were winning a little bit, but then 15 minutes hit and there's no way to control Xayah Rakan anymore, and then they become late game monsters and they have Engage and Peel, and it's like, oh, they do everything. It's like, well, why didn't you just take it instead of limiting your win conditions so heavily?
When your counter pick has no wiggle room, it makes it so hard to execute on, and you end up in a situation that's hard to deal with. Like 10 minutes into this game, TSM, a 3-for-0, they found themselves in the top lane based on an overextension.
And this is basically where the game started heading south for them. We talked about how the top side is very hard to influence. This Rakan was roaming at the perfect time. Great job by Shady showing up when he needed to. And then they turned this 3-for-4 pretty easy as Mickey was a little bit further ahead than the rest of his team, and they weren't super well coordinated on trying to finish off Grig there. And it kind of speaks to like the tank versus tank matchup in the top side. They're going up there, they're attacking that as opposed to attacking the Xayah Rakan. That gets turned. Now the top side's not going well, and your bot side is just going even this whole time against what will be an outscaling bottom lane.
But as we discussed during the game, Team Liquid Academy is not the kind of team to just sort of passively accept losing the game. They're always going to look to make moves and keep themselves in the game. And 23.5 minutes in, they found themselves their own 3-for-0 in the top part of the map.
But it did feel like they might be a little too greedy to get back into the game. Shady gets over-aggressive here, ends up walking on a trap, gets hit down very low. This forces the Shen ult reactively. During this, there was a Shelly that was dropped in the mid lane. So TSM are kind of all over the map right now, split focus. This allows Viper to get the ult in from behind. The easy kill into Shady. He's already lost everything. Mickey gets the ult up to the top side. And then this is just beautiful layering of skills. You get the Q to force him back. You get the W to force him back again. Doesn't want to do it this time. Ends up getting killed. That 3-for-0 is great. But what do they get off of it? They go to Baron. The 2 members of TSM who are left alive in the mid lane are all it takes to force them off of that. They don't get the top turret. The mid turret's still alive at that point. Bot turret's still alive. They had no objectives to speak for. And that kind of continued after some bad macro calls.
And that was the biggest difference between these two teams for me. You get a 3-for-0 on Team Liquid Academy, you don't have anything to show for it. TSM goes 1-for-1 and gets a Baron later on in the game, and that second Baron ends up leading to the final fight where they finally lock the game away, get themselves the victory over TLA here.
Right, and this is just desperation. They're getting 1-3-1 across the map. They don't have a good way to deal with the actual Baron pressure. They don't have a good way to engage. They try some desperate Hail Mary attempt after Hard had already used his ultimate, so that wasn't even available. It gets easily countered out. Like we said, both Cassiopeia and the Xayah have plenty of tools to dodge out on that, and then it's an easy re-engage for Shady for them to pick up those kills. So it was very quickly, the beginning of the end, once you saw TLA's comp fall behind, they don't really play that well from behind. They want to be sieging up on you. They want to force you to stop their siege, and then they can use their defensive tools. Once they're already pinned in their base, there's not much they can do.
Yeah, it was a situation that once you were in it, there weren't too many ways out, but a different situation that has actually found itself to be very interesting is TSM specifically. Now, contrary to what we believed earlier, our stats people have informed me that with this win, TSM is still in the running for playoffs. However, it is not entirely in their hands. Echo Fox owns the head-to-head, so they need to at least have a three-way tie. If there is such a situation, there is still a world for all you diehard TSM fans out there that your team in Academy can still make the playoffs. It's possible.
Yeah, there's one where CLG beats TSM, I think, and TSM beats CLG, and then CLG beats Optic can result in this kind of circle of people. It's a messy situation.
But it can happen.
It's one of those things where you're going to have like straws and like just this crazy like diagram made. You're just trying to connect things. You got board behind you with strings attached to tacks and pictures of people. You're going to lose your mind trying to track it all. Don't worry about it. We'll update you as things happen.
We have people for that. They're able to figure it out. They know how to attach all the strings to the tacks and everything else. But stay tuned for our final game of the night. After the break, 100 Thieves goes head-to-head with the Golden Guardians. You don't want to miss it. You're watching the North American Academy League. And the counterattack from TSM is there. First blood goes over to Greg. Over the wall comes a Blaze Olive. And that is going to be another going the way of TSM Academy. Make it 3, Mark. Explosive cask into the wall. And yet another barely escape until Joey goes over the wall with the Ignite to lock him down. Brandini now going to be in some trouble here as well as Mickey falls. Tries to dash out, still going to be caught as Mr. Rawlins attempts to escape, sidesteps the Decimate. Mickey taken low, but it's a double kill over to the side of TLA. Shoryu immediately has to be rescued because a Blaze Olive would have eaten him alive. Brandini with the taunt flash. He finds the mark. They'll make it a 1-for-1. Blaze Olive able to find the damage onto the front line. Joey and Hard both going to be out of the picture almost immediately. Fight for 2. Only the back line survives. Mr. Rawlins with the offensive ulti.
Play like a pro in City Champs. Earn a spot on your home team and take the fight nationwide in a city versus city battle against some of the best local players from across the country. Online qualifiers begin Sunday, March 11th, with brackets for all skill levels, live gameplay with shoutcasting, and a postseason all-star event hosted by Red Bull. For tickets and more information, go to superleague.com/LOL.